Hey, sixth graders, we've got another video involving ratios. We're not done with them yet. So today's lesson is unit rate, okay? So we're going to be using ratios in finding a unit rate. So for example, my first one I've got written up here says that we have we make or something like that, $44 in 4 days. What is the unit rate? In order to find the unit rate, we need to figure out how much we make in 1 day. Okay, unit rate is always going back to 1. You've done this before in some of the ratio tables and double number lines, okay? But this lesson is specifically doing that. So we're trying to figure out how much money are we going to make in 1 day, okay? This here, how much money in 1 day? That's what we're trying to figure out. How do you do this? It's just division. Okay, we're going to take $44 and divide by 4. 4 goes into 4 once. Drop down my 4. 4 goes into 4 once. Subtract. No remainder. So what's my answer? 11. So how much do I make in 1 day? I make $11 in 1 day. The unit rate is $11. Okay, I've got 2 more examples here, so hopefully you'll kind of get the hang of it, okay? We've got 27 outs in 9 innings. All right, 9 innings. So we need to figure out the unit rate, which would be how many outs are in 1 inning. So we want to know how many outs there's going to be in 1 inning. Again, this is a division problem, so we're going to take, let me erase this one here so we've got room, 27 divided by 9. And how many times does 9 go into 27? That's easy, 3 times, right? So there's going to be 3 outs in 1 inning. Not too bad, right? Let's look at my last one. Okay, we've got 256 heartbeats in 4 minutes. So the unit rate would be how many heartbeats are there in 1 minute? Okay, what do you think we're gonna do? Divide, right? So let me get my room here. 256 divided by 4. I'm just gonna go ahead. Can you see that? Yeah, divide that right out. 4 can't go into 2, but it can go into 25 6 times, right? That'd be 24. I'm going to subtract, drop my 6. 4 goes into 16 4 times. All right, what's my answer going to be? 64. So there are going to be 64 heartbeats in 1 minute. And that's how you find a unit rate. Okay, this is very basic. Here's a ratio. Here's the unit rate. Now we're going to apply those into some tables. Okay, I've got my table ready. So this time we are comparing pounds in a week. Okay, so I don't know how many pounds you gain or lose in a week, whatever. That's our ratio. And they're telling us that we have 10 pounds in 4 weeks. So it's asking us to find out how many pounds are we going to have in 1 week. And then in 7 weeks. But what do you notice about this one right here? We're going back to the 1. So this ratio right here, this one in the middle, that's the unit rate. And once you find the unit rate, you can solve any number, right? We can figure out any number of weeks, how much. We could go all the way up to 100 if we wanted, but not until we get the unit rate. So how do we do that? We do these just like ratio tables. You have to ask yourself, how do you get from 4 to 1? What would you do? You would divide by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. So now we have to do 10 divided by 4 because we have to do it to the top also. And that's going to be how many pounds we have in 1 week. I can't do that in my head, so I'm going to go 10 divided by 4. Okay, 4 goes into 10 2 times. That's going to be 8. And I'm going to subtract and get 2. Now, I can't just have a remainder. We don't do that. So I'm going to add a decimal and a 0. Then I can drop it. So how many times does 4 go into 20? That's 5. And that's going to work out perfectly. Okay, so in 1 week, how many pounds am I going to have? 2.5 pounds. And can you see that decimal? Yeah, there it is. Okay, so in 1 week, we've got 2.5 pounds. Now they want us to figure out, what about 7 weeks? Well, again, ask yourself, how do you go from 1 to 7? 1 to 7 times by 7. And if we do it to the bottom, we have to do it to the top. So 2.5 times 7. Again, let's just multiply over here. So we've got 2.5 times 7. 7 times 5 is 35. Bring the 3. That's going to be 17. Okay. Now I've got 1 decimal in my problem, so I need to move 1 decimal in my answer. So in 7 weeks, I'm going to have 17.5 pounds. And that's my table. I found the unit rate, and then once I have the unit rate, I can find any other number that I need. All right, now we're going to take unit rates and turn them into a story problem. So, well, kind of a story problem. Okay, we've got 9 grapefruits that cost $12. Okay, so I'm going to the store, I'm going to buy 9 grapefruits. It's going to cost me $12. But how much is 1 grapefruit going to cost me? How much does 1 grapefruit cost? Well, if we're going back to 1, that means we're going to find the unit rate. So let's think about this, okay? If we just did a table, right? So what's wrong with another table? Nothing. We have grapefruits and dollars. Grapefruits, I have 9, and it's going to cost me $12. They want to know, how much does 1 grapefruit cost? Okay. So, oh, oops, wrong way around. That's what we're trying to figure out. So we've got a 1 on top. This is the blank. And then we have to ask ourselves, this is just a table, and you know how to do that, right? How do you go from 9 to 1? You divide by 9. So what am I going to do with 12? Also going to divide by 9. That's going to cause me, I'm going to have to come over here and do some work. Okay, so my 12 is going to go in the house, and the 9 is going to go out of the house. How many times does 9 go into 12? Once. 1 times 9 is 9. I'm going to subtract and get 3. Okay, can't even see me. That's all right. Okay, we can't have a remainder, so I'm going to do a decimal, add a 0, and drop it. 9 goes into 33 times, so 3 times 9 is 27. I'm going to subtract and get, I'm going to have to do some borrowing. 10 minus 7 is 3 again. Can't have that, so I'm going to drop my 0. 9 goes into 33 times. 9 times 3 is 27. I'm going to subtract. Okay. You notice anything, a pattern here that's happening? Yeah, me too. This is going to go on and on forever, right? We're going to have 3, 3, 3 forever. So let's just do some rounding. A decimal, if we're talking about money, has to have 2 place values. So this 3 tells me to keep that 3 the same. We actually don't have to round. So 1 grapefruit is going to cost me $1.33. All right. Okay, we've got another problem. I think this will be our last one for this video, okay? So we're talking about some space junk out in space. We've got things floating around. Space junk travels at 5 miles in 6 seconds. Whew, that's cooking. Okay, we're going 5 miles, and it's only going to take us 6 seconds to get there. And we have 2 questions, okay? First, we want to know, how far will it travel in 30 seconds? And then the second question is, how many seconds is it going to take to travel 2 miles? So kind of opposite questions. We're going to start with the first one. Okay, but before I really even do any math, I'm going to start with a table. That is always your best bet when we're doing ratios. Okay, we're comparing miles to seconds. So my table is going to look like this, all right? How many miles? It travels 5 miles in 6 seconds. And our first question asks, how far does it travel in 30 seconds? So I'm going to go to my I'm going to go to my seconds and write 30 because this is the number that we're trying to figure out. What's going to go there? Well, this is just like all the other tables we've done. How do you go from 6 to 30? Times 5. So I'm going to do that on the top. 5 times 5 is 25. So how far is it going to go in 30 seconds? It's going to travel 25 miles. All right, let's look at part 2. How many seconds is it going to take to travel 2 miles? All right, so let's extend our table here. And what is it asking? We want to know how many seconds is it going to take to travel 2 miles? Oh boy, okay. So I'm going to erase some of this stuff here to get it out of my way. Okay, and we have to ask ourselves, how do we get from 5 to 2? Can we do that? Can we go from 5 to 2? No, we cannot. So what do we need to find? The unit rate, right? Because remember I said, once you figure out how many are going to 1, you can find any number you want. So we're going to have to make another column in our table. Can you still see it? Kind of. Okay, this is the question mark. That's what we're trying to figure out. Okay. Well, how many, let's see, we're trying to go, how many, 1 mile is going to take how many seconds? All right, how do I go from 5 to 1, divide by 5? So what am I going to have to do here? I have to take 6 and divide it by 5. Now that might be a little weird, but let's just look at it. We put 6 in the house, 5 on the outside. How many times does 5 go into 6? Once. 1 times 5 is 5. I'm going to subtract and get 1. Add my 0. Decimal. Decimal. Drop the 0. How many times does 5 go into 10? Twice. So 1 and 2/10 of a mile in 1 second. All right. That wasn't too bad, right? Now we have the unit rate. This right here. This is the unit rate. Okay. Oh, you can't even see me. Okay, I'll flip. Unit rate. All right. Now we're still trying to figure out how long is it going to take us to go 2 miles. So here we go. How do you go from 1 to 2? Times 2. So I'm going to times by 2, which means I have to take 1 and 2/10 times 2. So 1 and 2/10 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 and 4/10. All right, so how many seconds is it going to take to travel 2 miles? 2 and 4/10 of a second. Those right there are your 2 answers. Whew, that was a lot of information, okay? So make sure that if you need to, you go back, right? You should be taking notes, right? That way you can look back at them. Things stick better when you write them down, and you should be able to do unit rates now.